Oahu Island in Hawaii, 3,500 kilometers from the closest continental landmass, it's the site of a naval base infamous around the entire world, Pearl Harbor. It was here, on December 7th, 1941, that Japan launched a preemptive strike on the US Pacific Fleet, seeking to weaken its navy before the seemingly inevitable start of hostilities, sinking 6 of its 8 battleships and killing more than 2,100 Americans. Kathy Hayashi's family lived less than 2 kilometers from the naval base.
It was a lot of trauma. Got anti-aircraft bullets coming in from the battleships and the Zeros coming over. My grandfather, he's sitting on his bed. All of a sudden, this bullet came through the roof and right through his hand.
Japan had feared a US armed response to its plan to seize control of Southeast Asia for its natural resources, and the attack on the US fleet stationed in Hawaii sought to cripple the US Navy with a single blow. The memory of the attack on Pearl Harbor is still visible in Hawaii today, in the rusted remains of the sunken battleships which still poke out from beneath the waves even 80 years on. Today, the memorial site receives over 1.5 million visitors every year.
It's hard to imagine what that day was. It's hard to put into words.
I'm a Navy veteran myself, so it kind of has a special meaning for me to be here and see it for the first time.
Having previously wavered over direct involvement, given its politics of isolationism, the attack forced the United States to declare war on the Axis powers and dragged the country into World War II. The attack also had immediate impacts on the home front.
When Pearl Harbor happened, they started arresting that night.
More than a third of Hawaii's population in 1941 were ethnically Japanese, the territory's largest ethnic group, resulting from decades of labour migration to its sugar plantations. Suspected by American authorities, many were taken to internment camps.
Because the Japanese played such a major role in the sugar economy, they couldn't incarcerate the entire population. So they went after leadership. They targeted business owners, community leaders, religious leaders, and it was very, very dismal for a lot of the prisoners.
As the US entered the war, American troops went to fight on 2 fronts, in the Pacific and in Europe, where 1,300 Japanese Americans from Hawaii fought both Mussolini and American prejudice.
They landed in Salerno, Italy, and within 4 months, they were down to only 500 or so able to fight. So that's when the media started saying, this is the Purple Heart Battalion. These Americans of Japanese ancestry are loyal Americans.
Hostilities will end.
While victory in Europe over Nazi Germany came on May 8, 1945, the conflict in the Pacific waged on for a further 4 months. It was aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Harbor 4 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor that World War II officially came to an end, with the signing of Japan's unconditional surrender.
At 9:25 a.m., after a 23-minute ceremony, World War II is over.
However, the events of that period continue to echo today. The 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor set off a chain of events which led ultimately to the advent of nuclear warfare. 4 years later, Japan's refusal to surrender saw US planes drop atomic warheads on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Conservatively, we estimate that about 69 million people died during World War II in all theaters of combat. Of that 69 million, about 50 million were civilians and non-combatants.
For visitors here, that's a historical precedent that should be avoided at all costs.
You know, nuclear weapons, the submarine I was on carried nuclear weapons. I would like to think that we can step back from that, because if we resort to that level of weapon, I don't know what the outcome would be worldwide.
A notorious event in world history, the lessons of Pearl Harbor have echoed around the world and down the generations.
I was senior vice president of Verizon in New York City, the top Asian in a Fortune 50 company, and I wouldn't have had these opportunities if these men didn't take a stand over 80 years ago to prove that Americans come in all colors.
In a world wrought by modern conflict, Pearl Harbor stands as a stark reminder to those who come here.
This is something to remember. We should try and work to prevent these events from happening.
We're still seeing some of these things happen in the modern day world. Heightened tensions, suspicion without due process. And I think we can look at what happened to Japanese Americans and other populations as a way to learn, hopefully, from history.
It's still very relevant. There's still conflict all over the world. That launched the Second World War, and it seems as if we're on the precipice of almost another world war. So it seems very somber to be here right now. You would think that after something like this it would end, but it doesn't ever seem to end.
Alasdair, Baverstock, CGTN, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.